So for cosine graphs, it looks almost exactly the same thing, but now instead of being sine, which we were doing for the number 4 notes, now it's cosine. So now it's just a cosine b theta instead of sine theta. And again, if you don't like the theta part, and again, they'll go back and forth. Just think about that theta as being x. So same thing. The A value is still the amplitude. The B value still helps you get the period. So we'll still go ahead and do that on those two things. So amplitude is still the absolute value of A. And then the period is 2 pi over B. Okay, now here's the only, in graph-wise, still going to do the same thing. We're going to have the A value at the top and the bottom of the graph. Still going to cut it into fourths. So we've got basically our XY axis moving 1 point up, down, left, right, that kind of thing. So we've got our A value here, our negative A value here. This is still going to be your 2 pi over B at the end of it. Now, here's the difference, though. And here's where we go back to the unit circle. When we did cosine, cosine's the first number, right? So this thing starts at 1. So for these, when we're graphing this one, basically cosine, this part's going to be 1. So we're going to do A times 1 if we kind of go through that part of it. So for the cosine graphs, the big deal is the graph starts at the A value. So if your A value happens to be negative, you'll start down here. If your A value happens to be positive, we'll start there. And then again, if you're at the top, you're going to go to the middle, to the bottom, to the middle, and then back to the top. You may be saying, well, that doesn't look anything at all like the last graph because, this looks, it's a bell shape, right? No, it's upside down bell, but it's a bell-shaped curve. But again, you got to realize that we're only looking at a very small little section of the graph. If we kept going, there's what the graph would look like. So if we just had started over here, then that's basically the same part of the graph that we've got that would keep going there. So the only difference on this one is just where we're starting. We're not starting in the middle. We're going to either start at the top or the bottom of the graph. So it's almost like, we should have started there. So it's the same graph. We just kind of moved it over just a little bit because of our starting value. Okay. And again, we're not going to do like 10,000 graphs because once you've seen, 2 or 3 of them, it's all pretty much, same kind of graph as we go through these. So let's just give you a couple of different ones. And then if you're comfortable there, then we'll stop on that part of it. So. All right. And again, for this one, you may want to put a little mark when we put this part of it here. For that graph where we start at the top, that one would be where your A value is positive. So this would be a graph if A is greater than 0. If your A is less than 0, if it's a negative number, then you're going to start down here at the bottom. Okay, so here we go. Here's a couple examples, and then we'll see if everybody's good there, and then we'll see how far we need to go. So let's go with y equals 4 cosine of 1/2 x. Okay, so the A value is 4, B is 1/2, so your amplitude is absolute value of 4, which is, again, just 4. And for your period, it's 2 pi over 1/2, because it's 2 pi over B. And again, if you've got a fractions is kind of weird because we've got 2 pi over a fraction. This is where, again, you can go keep it, change it, and flip it, right? Because we got the fraction involved. So you can make that 2 pi times 2 over 1. Yeah, those are absolute values there. There you go. So the period in that case would be 4 pi.
What's today? Like A or B?
B day. Yeah, Sean, just turn like right around there. Okay, the good thing with this one is the period is 4 pi. So that's going to put us at the ending of it right here. If you take 4 pi and divide it by 4, that means the first number is going to be 1 pi or just pi. Then we've got 2 pi. Then we got 3 pi. So that works out pretty nice because when your period is 4 pi, that's where we're going to end for that when we're doing the one cycle. Then, divide that by 4. That means the first one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pi. Okay, our A value was 4. So we're going to start at 4. So we're going to start at the top. And again, if you're at the top, before you can get to the bottom, you've got to get to the middle, to the bottom, to the middle, and then to the top. And that's a terrible graph there on my part. Okay, so there you go. Again, it's an upside down bell. If we turn it this way, it's the bell-shaped curve, but it's upside down. So it's just a trough, I guess you'd say. All right, everybody all right with that?
Why is the ending part not curved?
It is. I just didn't do a very good job of graphing it out there. So it should be kind of like that. Okay, and I'm not going to be, when we're graphing these, I am going to make you draw these out. As long as it's somewhat curved, it's okay. Just don't make it a V shape because, again, it should be a smooth kind of thing. So as long as it's not just a V shape, as long as it's got some little curve to it, that's the main thing you want to have there. All right, let's throw you a different one here. All right, let's go -8 cosine of 2 pi theta. Okay, so our A value is -8. We do the absolute value of -8. Means our amplitude is 8. And with the B value, we use that to get 2 pi. That's 2 pi over B, which is 2 pi over 2 pi. So everything in the 2 pi cancels out. So in this case, our period is just 1. Now, and I know everything we've done so far has had pi in the period, but in this case, the pi's cancel out and it gets 1. So don't freak out on us a little bit here, because sometimes people get thrown off because it's not like all the other ones that we've been doing. But in that case, it should be easy because if the period is 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. So there's 1. To get the first number here, we're going to take this number and divide it by 4. So that's just 1/4. Next number would be 2/4, but because it's 2/4, we can make it a half. Next number is 3/4, and then of course 1 would really be 4/4, but we'll simplify it down and make it 1. Okay. And again, with the cosine values, you start at the A value. So the A value is -8. So we're going to start at -8. So if we're at the bottom, before you get to the top, you got to get through the middle. Then you're at the top, to the middle, and then back to the bottom. Okay. Again, make it a bell-shaped curve. Do not make it a V shape. So just make.
And I just like